right. Hi, everybody. This is the social model for South America. Okay. No, I didn't want to do that. Crap. Just kidding. Okay, so this is a social model, and it has three parts. A and B lead to C. So, ineffective political structure is going to be things like weak kings. This is terrible, sorry. Weak kings, flaws within the monarch's rule. Economic problems is going to be taxes and trouble with that, and land problems. International pressures are going to be other revolutions and outside ideas. And then after those problems have arisen, then the socioeconomic factors are going to follow. So lower class economic burdens are going to be things like oppressive landowners, poor wages for peasants, and tax problems as well. And alienation of state is going to be whenever the monarch or the main political power is going to neglect the lower class. And that's going to lead to the lower class wanting more power and independence. Okay, so those two things added together are going to lead to the revolution. And the revolution is political change and societal transformation. Political change are going to be things such as new or different control or a new structure, such as changing to more of a republic. Societal transformation is going to be things like unity, disunity, new ideas, differences in class distinction, and more equality. Okay, so for South America, crisis of state is the first part of the model, and the international pressures for South America in the crisis of state are going to be the North American and the Haitian Revolution. So the North American Revolution brings about a new idea of free or more fair political system that the South American colonies are going to want over the dominant monarchical Spain. And the Haitian Revolution was the big slave revolt, which is going to send fear into the landowners in the South American countries because they're going to start to doubt Spain's control of the uprisings and their ability to contain them. And also, the Enlightenment comes around and encourages ideas of changing social class and free trade, more equality, religious tolerance, more freedom, republicanism, things like that. And the Creoles are going to take a big part of separating the Spanish and the South American countries from Spain. An ineffective political structure. After King Charles III's death, his son, King Charles IV, takes over, and he is very weak and indecisive, which leads to a shaky political power over the South American colonies. Also, at this time, Spain is in alliance with the French against the British, and they're having military conflict over in Europe, and that leads to ignoring the South American colonies, which angers the Creoles, which are the Europeans who were born in the New World. And so that is going to spark the South American colonies wanting independence from Spain because their lack of control.
So, some socio-economic factors include Spain excluding Creoles from high positions in the government, giving them little say in politics. A growing pride in the Creole regions, which where the hate from the Spaniards when they ignore them, it causes the gap to widen. And the colony society was based on race, but the Spanish law allowed wealthy people of mixed heritage to sort of buy their way to the top, which caused disruptions. And the colonies were only allowed to trade with Spain, but Spain's rates hurt them pretty bad.
With political change, we have it going from a monarch to a republic, from King Charles IV to Simon Bolivar, who was a main leader during all this, and everyone supported him widely during the revolution. So, from it changing from a monarch to a republic, it changed a lot of the society because they were their own place and they didn't have to deal with Spain controlling trade. They were able to control it themselves. And they were originally going to stay as one complete country, but they broke off into many different ones after Simon Bolivar died.
Some important people of the South American Revolution were Simon Bolivar, who was also called Bolivar the Liberator because he liberated a ton of Spanish colonies. And he wanted to unify them eventually, which is why one of the reasons after they were liberated, some of them unified together and they called themselves Grand Bolivia. But after his death, they broke apart. So in 1816, Argentina was liberated. In 1819 through 1820, Colombia followed. In 1821, Venezuela was liberated. And in 1822, Bolivia was liberated and named themselves after Simon Bolivar. Another important person was Napoleon Bonaparte because he provided the spark that the Spanish colonies needed to have a revolution. Since he put his brother Joseph on the throne, that gave the colonies the perfect excuse to revolt, and he forced the Spanish the Spanish king into exile. So they wanted independence from Spain. Okay, so this is the French Revolution, which we are also applying to the social model. And this is A, which is crisis of state, and is one of the reasons why the French wanted to revolt. Before the revolution, the method of governing that the French used was called the Estates General, which was made out of three bodies called the clergy, nobility, and commoners. The clergy and nobility together made up 2% of the French population, and the commoners made up 98%. So it made the common people pretty mad that they had less privileges than the clergy and nobility, even though they represented more of of France. Okay, and so another crisis of state was the debt that the French were in because they had aided the American Revolution in an attempt to undermine their rivals, the British. They had been long time rivals, and the common people had to pay off that debt by taxes.
So, the socio-economic factors of the French Revolution include social inequalities with the church. Wait. With the church and the nobility being much richer and more powerful compared to the peasants who were poorly paid and were forced to do like extra work. Also, the peasants had to pay unfair taxes while the nobility did not pay any tax. and also famine caused many deaths because of the shortage of grain, giving them much more reason to revolt. And with the Enlightenment ideas, wait, the Enlightenment ideas is actually okay, yeah, not Enlightenment ideas. That belongs to the previous one.
So the political change in the French Revolution was the power was stripped from the king, and so feudalism was abolished by that point. They had a motto, which is the three words you see there, that's liberty, equality, and fraternity throughout this, that kind of kept the revolution going and the revolution strong, which was a very unique social transformation, which led through the whole thing. And then that led to the Declaration of the Rights of a Man and Citizens, which was a very big change throughout there because that gave a lot more power to the people in the time, which it was originally a monarchy, which they didn't have that before. Going on with the important people dates, you have Napoleon Bonaparte, which he tamed the revolution, which basically means that he kind of got all the chaos controlled, which was going on, because with Robespierre, he kind of led this terror of 93-94, and he kind of executed many people with the guillotine, and he ended up getting executed himself. So Napoleon got this all under control and brought it more towards freedom. And so that's kind of why King Louis XIV and Marie Antoinette ended up getting executed themselves, because people saw them as a symbol of the old regime, even though they believed in the Enlightenment as well as the revolution itself.